Okay, here we go. Hannibal has to play against another Zerg player. We have Tallaremoltar, and DrugBird is a clanmate of Slayer's Min, who played the last match against Hannibal. So it's going to be another TVZ, and DrugBird will try to avenge his opponent. To avenge his teammate and defeat his opponent. Hannibal is starting at the top left, and Tallaremoltar and DrugBird at the bottom left. So this is really a huge map, and for a Terran player you can go for a mech play quite easily on this map if you decide to do so, as the second base as well as the third base is quite easily accessible and easy to defend as well, especially if you're a Terran player. And the Zerg might even go for a 15 hatch, which is possible on this map. Usually you try to play a little bit more defensive in the early stages of the game if you're a Zerg player, as it's quite hard to beat a Terran player. If you're going for a hatch first and the Terran player is opening with 2 barracks, it's quite hard to defend against an early push. But on a map like this, DrugBird might opt for the 15 hatch. We'll see about that in a second. He's already on 14 supply. He doesn't use an extractor just yet, but he might start with a pool on 14. So let's have a look. He's going for additional drones and is getting his 15 hatch. So I like that quite a lot. On a map like this, you can afford to play with a 15 hatch. You need to be a little bit careful and not. He's getting another drone, and he shouldn't drone too much. He should basically make sure that he's able to get the pool early as well. And this he's going to 16 supply, and on. Yeah, you can do that on a map like Tallaremoltar, but we've been seeing a lot of Terran versus Zerg, where the Zerg was trying to play a little bit greedy in the early stages of the game, overdrone a little bit too much, get his pool too late, and then being punished by the Terran player. And especially on a map like this, as a Terran player, you can assume that your opponent is going to play an early hatch, and therefore with an early scout, you will be able to put a lot of pressure onto the Zerg player. So it's a little bit risky to do exactly this, but but he's fine, because basically the Terran player decides to play a little bit more defensive. He's going to get, he already has gas. He's starting with a Reaper in order to get a little bit of scouting going, and as you can see, the pool is already, well, as good as done. We have 3 drones in the extractor, and just trying to get enough gas for the Zergling speed. He's getting his first queen. The expansion will be ready in a second queen being produced as well, and he should definitely make sure that he spreads his creep as fast as possible. I have to admit that I haven't seen DrugBird play so far, and we have HannibalPrime right now with his first scouting unit, taking out that drone. And jumping up the cliff. There are the Zerglings, and the Zerglings have to fight on creep. Without the speed upgrade done yet, the Zerglings have to rely on the creep in order to be able to attack the Reaper. The Queen is not out yet. We have a second Reaper as well. And here come the Zerglings on the creep. They are a little bit faster than the Reaper, but without the speed, they have to be a little bit careful when playing off creep. And I think he might I think he cancelled his second Reaper. I think that Hannibal has cancelled the second Reaper. He's getting a factory right now. No, there's the second Reaper. Killing the extractor, some gas steal from DrugBird, and oh, sorry, for a second I really thought that he was able to sneak in another drone from somewhere, but that's refinery being produced. That looked a little bit weird. That would have been just too cool. And here are all those Zerglings, and as I already mentioned, off creep they are slower than the Reaper, so they have to be a little bit careful of what's happening. Speed is not done yet, and a Zergling is a 2-hit. Oh, yep, very well done by Hannibal. Very nice micro. I mean, have a look at that. He killed a ton of Zerglings. One Reaper with 6 kills, another one with 3. So amongst those two, they have nearly 10 kills so far. Speed is done in a second. A lot more drones being produced for the Zerg player. He already started to spread his creep. Didn't connect the 2 bases yet though, and he is not getting a third queen, which I don't like. And here are the Reapers once again, as I already mentioned. They have to be careful when facing the Zerg units on creep. And here, yeah, well, as you could see, both Reaper just died, but they still killed a decent amount of units. Let's have a look at the army and the worker supply. 42 drones for the Zerg player, 26 SCVs. and the units killed. We have 4 workers killed and 14 units in total, so 10 Zerglings died to the 2 Reapers as well. Definitely a good trade for the Terran player, but still the Zerg is in a decent shape right now. He's getting his Roach Warren, is spreading his creep farther towards the base of his opponent, and we have 1 Overlord being placed nearby the vicinity of the Terran player in order to get a decent scouting going on. The second base for the Terran player, for Hannibal, is already done. The orbital command has been lifted off and will be placed at the natural expansion in a second. And in the meantime, we have the first Zerglings attacking the destructible rocks in order to make way for a possible 3rd base for the Zerg player. And he's just droning up like crazy. I like that a lot because he knows basically when his opponent is going to attack. What I would prefer him to do is to place at least 1 or 2 spine crawlers. He can afford them. He has a lot of minerals, just to be sure that he is able to defend against a potential Hellion play, because that's something that could basically kill him right now. If Blue Flame Hellions would enter his base, he would be in a lot of trouble. But like this, he's fine. His opponent is not doing that. We have Baling Nest being built for the Zerg player. He's going for the first 6 Roaches. The Destructible Rocks are about to be killed. And there's 1 Viking, and I love that play. I actually like it when Terran player opt for 1 Viking, because it's just such a good unit if you want to harass a Zerg player. Usually a Zerg player will try to position his overlords in the vicinity of his base and the Terran base as well, in order to get a good glimpse of what's happening, in order to know when, for example, the Terran player is trying to play with drops or something like that. And with a Viking, you just make sure that the Zerg player has to move all his overlords into his own main base. You can kill at least 1, 2, or 3 overlords, and therefore already make up for the costs of the Vikings. So I really like the play by Hannibal, and we might even see him play with a drop very soon, because he's going for Medivacs now as well, and he's making sure that there are no overlords in place in order to scout a drop, so he might just go for it, and we'll see about that in a second. We have 90 to 82 supply, and oh, the Viking is taking out the Overlord and dying itself. Classic double kill. In the meantime, let's have a look at that. There are some Marines just being dropped right now. The Zerg player is actually supply blocked. He's on 31 army supply against 42, 57 supply workers against 43. And here comes the Terran player at the 11-minute mark with the siege tanks with siege. Will siege up at this spot in order to put some pressures on this expansion. I mentioned that earlier in another matchup. Terran on this map are quite strong if they are able to get into position, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Very good play by Hannibal, and now all those tanks are being cleared by the Roaches, but still DrugBirg has to retreat with his drones and has to wait for more units to being built. And as you can see, he's trying to snipe the hatchery. More units are being built right now. The drones are probably trying to help out, but the hatchery is dying. The queen is in position too late, doesn't have enough energy for a transfuse anyways. So DrugBirg is losing his second base, and his 3rd, well, is just being finished in time so he can move the drones over to his 3rd base. It's still really annoying for the Zerg player. And I already mentioned that I would have liked if he would just place a spine crawler in the surrounding area of his base. So that's something that you need to be aware of, because that's a play that we see quite often from Terran players, and I don't like DrugBird's defense. He could have defended a lot more better than that if he just used some of his Banelings in order to attack the Marines on top of the cliff. But right now Hannibal is trying to get another attack going. In the meantime, we have Roaches attacking the position of the Terran player, and there are not too many units. Actually 2 tanks, and here comes the very well. Love that spine crawler. Love it. Really, really well placed. He's losing his extractor, but there is nothing that Hannibal can do, and here will be this drop will be taken out by no units at all. He has to wait for his Roaches. He's trying to get the spawning pool up and running, and he's losing all those Marines. Very well done. But once again, I have to emphasize that I hate the creep spread. I mean, have a look at that. He's spreading his creep right now, but I mentioned earlier on already that I don't like that he is not connecting his 2 bases with creep, and that would have helped him a lot at defending against this drop of his opponent. He would have been there a lot faster. Oh, what is he doing? What the fuck is he doing? All those drones are just annihilated, and he's calling mules as well. God knows why, just trying to repair that medivac, but still, what the fuck is he doing? There's another drop. He's constantly trying to annoy his opponent from 2 sides. HannibalPrime is just in superior shape right now. I love the sensor tower play by the Terran player. I think that sensor towers are still underused by Terran players, and I really like that Hannibal is relying on 2 sensor towers in order to be able to deal against any attack of his opponent. We have a lot of good drop play by the Terran player as well. The Zerg started out with a really good opening against the Terran, but still DrugBirg with a lot of mistakes, putting the drone on minerals while there was a drop going on was horrible, a horrible decision. Losing that second base was unnecessary as well. Losing this the spawning pool was also a little bit stupid, especially if, because he could have prevented it with a decent creep spread. And here comes another drop. Here comes another drop with those medivacs. He doesn't have anti-ace, building a spire right now. And those, yeah, well, he will drop at the cliff and he will just make sure that there are the tanks in position. So really annoying play by Hannibal, but he might just be in a bad position right now. He's scanning. Oh, and all those tanks are taking out the units of DrugBirg, and HannibalPrime is defeating SlayerSDrugBirg. Very well played by the Terran, and the Zerg just wasn't up for the challenge.